beloved soul. Let me begin with the truth many try to avoid. He didn't recognize it at first, and maybe you didn't either. He called it attraction, coincidence, a passing spark he believed he could ignore. He convinced himself he could walk away, numb the heart, silence the pull. But you feel it too, don't you? That magnetic thread that refuses to break no matter how much logic tries to label it, shrink it, explain it away. The problem is not in knowing it, is in feeling something so undeniable that the mind fights to deny it. And tonight, we are going to face this invisible storm together. In this teaching, we are going to unravel the moment everything changes, the moment the divine masculine stops running from truth and begins running toward it. This video will guide you into the inner awakening he never expected, the one that begins the instant distraction stops working and silence becomes unbearable. We are going to explore why his soul trembles at your memory, why the universe keeps pulling him back no matter how far he tries to go, and what is unfolding beneath the surface of your connection, even when nothing appears to be happening externally. By the end of this message, you will not just understand what is happening, you will feel it. If you stay with me through this entire transmission, something inside you will shift. You will no longer wonder if he knows. You will understand what happens when he finally admits the truth to himself. This video will help you see your connection not as chaos, but as destiny in motion. You will walk away with clarity, with recognition, and with a deeper understanding of the stage your twin flame is entering right now. This is not simply a story, it is the moment consciousness awakens. And if you choose to watch until the end, you may realize that everything you thought was ending is actually just beginning. Number 1. Resistance, his first shield. From the very first moment his soul recognized you, he felt a pull that defied logic, a magnetic undertow that no amount of reasoning could dissolve. And yet, instead of surrendering, instead of allowing himself to feel the immensity of what was awakening inside him, he reached for the most familiar weapon the masculine often turns to when confronted with destiny. Resistance. He told himself it was coincidence, a passing spark, a temporary rush of dopamine that would fade when reality returned. He labeled it chemistry, intrigue, physical attraction, something rooted in the body rather than the soul. He reduced something ancient to something casual because he believed doing so would keep him safe. Then came the second wave of avoidance, obsession, illusion, fantasy. Words he used, not because they were true, but because they helped him build walls around feelings he could not control. He convinced himself that nothing this powerful could be real. That intensity meant danger. That love of this depth could only end in loss. So he ran. Not always with his feet, but with his mind. With his calendar full, his phone loud, his schedule overflowing, he drowned himself in work, in responsibilities, in routine. He surrounded himself with noise people, conversations, tasks, anything that muted the echo of your presence inside his chest. He sought comfort in connections that could never reach the places you touched simply by existing, because proximity to you meant vulnerability, and the masculine was never taught how to stand unarmored. But here is the truth most divine feminines never get to see. Resistance is heavy. It is not freedom, it is a cage made of avoidance. Every time he told himself it was nothing, the bond grew louder. Every time he tried to distract himself, the silence between you became sharper. Every denial forged another chain around his heart. He thought he was protecting himself from heartbreak, but in reality, he was locking himself deeper into fear. Fear of losing you, fear of wanting you, fear of being seen fully, deeply, spiritually by the one soul who could never be fooled. Because no mask works with a twin flame. No barrier holds. No distance is truly distance. And so, in every twin flame journey, there comes a moment subtle yet earth-shifting when the chains begin to crack. Not with dramatic collapse, not with lightning or fireworks, but with something much quieter, far more powerful. Silence. The silence that comes when running no longer numbs the heart. The silence that settles when distraction stops working. The silence that arrives like a breath he can no longer push away. Soft, persistent, unavoidable. This is the moment the masculine begins to realize that resistance was never protection, it was postponement. That what he feared losing was not you, but the version of himself that could survive without you. A version that is now dissolving. Because love like this does not fade. It waits. It transforms. It returns, not as chaos, but as truth, unfolding itself slowly, one crack, one breath, one awakening at a time. Before we step into the next stage of his awakening, pause with this moment for a breath. Feel the weight of what resistance truly means, not just to him, but perhaps even within your own heart. Have there been moments where you ran too, where love felt too big, too real, too close? If this chapter resonates, I invite you to reflect gently and share your truth below. Tell us which part of his resistance mirrors your own, or simply type, "I release fear," to anchor this shift into your field. Your story is not just your own, it becomes a lantern for another soul walking the same path. Number 2. The moment of cracking. There comes a moment in the twin flame journey when avoidance is no longer enough, when distance stops working, when distraction loses its power. He begins to realize, not suddenly, but quietly, persistently, that no matter how far he goes, you remain. You follow him not with words, not with presence, but with energy. He wakes in the morning with your face suspended in the first thought that forms. He carries you into his day the way one carries a scent, long after leaving the room, subtle, invisible, yet impossible to escape. Songs on the radio sound like they are speaking directly to him, lyrics landing with uncanny precision, as if they were written specifically for the two of you. A single line can stop him in his tracks. A melody can feel like a memory. It no longer feels accidental. It feels like guidance, like whispers from something larger than his logic can contain. And even when he tries to silence it, you still move through his awareness like breath against memory. Soft, intimate, undeniable. Your presence becomes a pulse that does not weaken. It becomes the part of him that travels everywhere he goes, threading through his thoughts with a quiet insistence. What he once called coincidence now feels like alignment. What he dismissed as imagination now feels like truth. This is the moment the illusion of control begins to crack, not with chaos, but with clarity. His ego, the structure that told him he could outrun destiny, begins to tremble under the weight of a connection too real to deny. He tries harder to run. He throws himself into routine, into work, into anything that dulls the ache of remembering you. But resistance only strengthens the pull. The harder he pushes, the louder the soul becomes. The more he denies, the more the truth rises. His heart begins to challenge the mind that once ruled him. The soul, patient, ancient, unwavering, starts breaking through the armor of ego, not with force, but with inevitability. It nudges him awake in quiet moments. It brings you to him in dreams. It opens spaces inside him he never meant to feel, places he locked away long ago. This is the cracking the moment, when separation is no longer a choice, but a window into awakening. A soft breaking, a dissolving of walls, too weak to contain love, that belongs to something far beyond human logic. He begins to see that no distance can sever what was never physical to begin with. The pull is not longing, it is recognition, it is memory. It is the truth of a bond written into soul, not mind. And whether he admits it or not, something inside him is already turning back toward you, not because he should, but because the connection refuses to die. Because the connection lives, breathes, remembers even when he tries not to. This is where denial becomes surrender. Not in one moment, but through many small cracks. Through every reminder, every song, every breath of you that lingers where logic cannot reach. Number 3. The 7 subtle signs of recognition. Before a twin flame recognizes the connection in the physical world, it is first recognized through energy, not through words, not through decisions, but through invisible threads that the soul feels long before the mind can understand them. Recognition arrives quietly, like a soft pressure under the ribs, like a thought that refuses to leave, like a name that keeps echoing through his world even in silence. It is subtle, but it is powerful, and once it begins, nothing can stop it from unfolding. Today, we're going to explore 7 undeniable signs that his soul has already recognized you, even if he hasn't spoken those truths aloud. The first sign is found in his eyes, the very first gateway of recognition. When your eyes meet, something in him drops. The guards, the logic, the rehearsed calm, they all fall away. There is a softness there, a familiarity, a vulnerability that terrifies him and comforts him at the same time. It doesn't matter how hard he tries to mask it. The soul sees what the mind tries to hide. His eyes hold truth long before his voice does. In them, you may see fear, confusion, longing, but always recognition. The second sign appears in his silence. In a normal connection, silence often feels like disinterest, but in a twin flame bond, silence is not empty, it is full. It carries everything he wants to say but doesn't know how. You can feel him thinking of you. You can feel emotional weight even in the absence of words. Silence begins to hold more energy than conversation. What once felt like rejection slowly transforms into yearning, reflection, and unspoken truth. The third sign is energetic presence without physical presence. He may not call, he may not text, he may not stand beside you in the physical, yet he shows up everywhere else. In dreams that feel more like memories, in sudden emotional waves that do not belong to you, in thoughts that arrive uninvited, repeating through your mind like fragments of a song you can't stop hearing. His energy begins to leak through the spaces where his ego tries to hide. His soul reaches you even when his actions do not. Next, his physical body begins to respond. This is the fourth sign. The body remembers what the mind ignores. He becomes restless. Sleep is disrupted. His heartbeat changes. His nervous system reacts every time he thinks of you. Your name becomes a pulse inside his chest. He may not understand why he feels tense, breathless, or pulled towards something he cannot explain, but his physiology knows. The connection is not just emotional, it is cellular. The fifth sign comes through the external world. Synchronicities begin to multiply. Your name appears in unexpected places. Repeating numbers follow him from clocks to receipts to street signs. 1111, 222, 777. Songs speak to him like messages. Coincidences stop feeling like coincidence. Life itself begins reflecting the connection back at him, as if the universe is gently guiding him toward the truth he's been avoiding. Then comes the sixth sign: comparison. He may try to distract himself with other people or situations. He may attempt to replace the feeling or move forward logically, but nothing fits. No conversation reaches the same depth. No laughter feels as natural. No connection rests in his heart the way yours does. He will notice that no one mirrors him the way you do. No one feels like home. Because no one is you. The soul knows what substitutes cannot satisfy. And then finally, the seventh sign, he begins to soften. Not dramatically, but subtly, gradually, like snow melting under the first light of spring. His ego loosens its grip. His anger quiets. His resistance weakens. His soul starts to speak louder than his fear. He may not act immediately, but his energy shifts unmistakably. His heart begins to open, even if slowly, even if silently. Something inside him whispers a truth that cannot be reversed. Number 4. How his body confesses what his mind denies. The divine masculine believed he could handle this connection with logic alone. He told himself that reason was stronger than soul, that thought could override feeling, that discipline could numb what the heart already knew. He tried to rationalize, compartmentalize, intellectualize every pull that drew him toward you. Yet the twin flame bond does not submit to logic. It speaks a language deeper than mind. And when the mind refuses to listen, the body steps forward to tell the truth. He will no longer allow himself to deny. It begins subtly, almost quietly, like a soft knocking he pretends not to hear, a tension he can't explain, a persistent thought of you that returns even when he forces it away. Restlessness becomes the first confession of his body, pacing through the house, scrolling through distractions, moving from one task to another with no inner peace. He may not speak your name, but his energy does. His nervous system trembles with recognition. Something under his skin is alive. Something in his chest keeps calling him back to you. Then, it drops into the heart, the center where truth can no longer be avoided. His heart beats differently when he thinks of you. Faster, harder. He feels heat spreading across the chest like a spark catching flame, tightness that feels like longing, like memory, like home. Sometimes his heart races in the silence of night, whispering the truth he has tried to smother. Every beat is a confession. Every pulse carries your name through his bloodstream. He tries to calm it, breathe past it, but the body remembers what the mind resists. And then come the emotions, raw, unfiltered, unstoppable. Tears may arrive without explanation, like rain breaking sky. A song plays and suddenly his chest collapses with longing. A memory surfaces and his soul aches with the weight of what he never said. He grieves the time he wasted running, the love he pushed away, the connection he pretended was illusion. His tears are not weakness, they are release. They are truth overflowing after too long held back. They are the soul speaking through water, through emotion, through the breaking open of old armor. But the most powerful confession does not come from emotion alone, it comes from desire. Not the shallow kind, not lust, not craving body for body. This is deeper. This is recognition. A pull he cannot intellectualize. A longing to merge not just physically, but spiritually, energetically, eternally. He wants closeness beyond touch, intimacy beyond skin. He feels the desire to meet you soul to soul, breath to breath, life to life. It terrifies him because it is holy. It humbles him because it is real. And then you enter his dreams. Night after night, your presence slips through the veil like light beneath a door. In dreams, he speaks the words he is afraid to voice in waking life. His soul meets yours in gardens not of this world, in memories that feel ancient, in timelines that feel familiar. He wakes with you, still in his body, your voice, your scent, the echo of your energy against his skin. These dreams don't fade like normal dreams. They follow him into the daylight. They breathe behind his thoughts. Because they are not hallucinations, they are soul meetings beyond time. This is how the masculine awakens, not through logic, but through embodiment. His body carries the truth the mind resists. His heart holds what his voice refuses to say. His emotions break open what his ego tried to lock away. And once the body confesses, once the truth rises through pulse and breath and dream, the mind can no longer lie. It becomes impossible to pretend he doesn't feel you. Impossible to dismiss what is woven into his nervous system. Impossible to run from what is written into his soul. When the body speaks, the journey shifts. Because the body never lies, and now, neither can he. Number 5. Dreams and synchronicities. When the universe speaks for him, there comes a moment on the twin flame path when logic no longer holds power, when control slips from his hands, and when reason cannot stop what is rising inside him. When waking life resists, when he tries to silence intuition, ignore the pull, and numb what he feels, the universe simply changes its language. It stops speaking through thought and begins speaking through dreams. It whispers through symbols, through timing, through coincidence that is far too precise to be random. He begins to see you in dreams not like fantasy, but like memory, as if he has been with you before, as if time folds and opens to reveal something ancient. He hears your voice in those dreamscapes, not as imagination, but as truth. He touches you there, feels your presence like warmth, like familiarity, like home he had forgotten he belonged to. These dreams feel real because they are real. They are soul-level meetings beyond the physical timeline, reunions the conscious mind is not yet ready to accept, but the soul has never stopped craving. And the universe remains patient, persistent, undeniable. Signs begin to appear subtle at first, then louder, then impossible to ignore. Flames, bridges, open doors. The symbols may vary, but the message is constant. Connection, union, crossing worlds, choosing love. His mind tries to dismiss it as coincidence, but the soul speaks in symbols, in riddles, in imagery that bypasses intellect and sinks directly into knowing. Each sign is a nudge, a reminder, a call. Then, the synchronicities follow him into daylight. Your name appears in random conversations, on billboards, in books he didn't plan to open. A song plays at the exact moment his thoughts drift to you. Numbers repeat: 1111, 222, 777 gateways. Alignment, destiny. He sees the places you once visited, hears phrases you once said, smells scents that feel like your skin. These signs build, multiply, intensify, until finally denial cracks under the weight of synchronicity. The universe is not guessing, the universe is guiding. These are breadcrumbs leading him back to what his soul already remembers. These synchronicities are not hallucinations of longing, they are coordinates. They are proof that the connection continues unfolding, even when silence sits between you in the 3D world. He may try to run, try to forget, try to ground himself in reason, but the universe simply follows, placing your energy in every doorway he walks through. And something extraordinary happens next. The feminine begins to feel it too. On the same nights he dreams of you, you dream of him. At the same hours he feels the pull, your chest tightens with the echo. When he sees signs, the universe mirrors them back to you, same numbers, same symbols, same songs at the same time. You may wake with the feeling that he visited you, that his spirit touched yours in sleep, that something shifted during the night without any physical contact. This is mutual recognition, a mirrored awakening, two souls dreaming in the same frequency. The feminine may feel him before he consciously understands why he cannot escape your presence. She senses the deepening long before he speaks it. The signs are shared, the dreams are shared. The universe speaks to both, not because you are separate, but because your souls are one system communicating across dimensions. Dreams become the meeting place, signs become the proof, synchronicity becomes the path back into truth. This is how the universe intervenes, when the mind resists what the soul has already chosen. Imagine this. He wakes one morning after dreaming of you, not faintly, not vaguely, but vividly, as if your hands had actually touched his. All day he tries to push it away, bury himself in work, pretend the dream was nothing. Yet, as he drives, a song comes on the radio, the same one that played the night you last saw each other. His breath catches. At the next stoplight, a car pulls up beside him, and your name is written across the side in bold letters, part of an advertisement he has never seen before. Later that afternoon, he checks the time, 11:11, and his heart stings in that familiar way, like truth pressing through the cracks. He tells himself he's imagining things, but when he walks into a bookstore that evening, a book falls from the shelf, hits the floor, and opens to a page with a sentence that feels like a message written just for him. Something inside him stops. Something inside him remembers. At that moment, he can no longer deny that the universe is speaking directly, repeatedly, lovingly guiding him back to where his soul has always belonged. Number 6. The triggers of recognition. Recognition does not arrive softly on the twin flame path. It does not knock politely. It strikes sudden, electric, undeniable, like lightning across a darkened sky. For the divine masculine, this is the moment when the connection stops being something he can push aside, deny, explain away, or intellectualize. The soul begins to break through the mind. The body starts speaking a language he can no longer ignore. What once felt like confusion turns into remembrance, and the truth that has always lived beneath the surface finally demands to be seen. The first trigger is fear, not fear of the connection, but fear of losing it. Because when recognition arrives, he realizes that the idea of life without her hurts more than the intensity of loving her ever could. The thought of her slipping away, choosing someone else, or disappearing from his world becomes unbearable in a way he cannot logically justify. He understands, then maybe for the first time, that she is not replaceable. No distraction, no temporary comfort, no other soul meets him where she touches him. She is woven into the architecture of his being, and losing her would feel like losing breath itself. Then comes mirror pain, the second trigger. This is where he discovers that her emotions do not merely affect him, they move through him. If she suffers, he feels it like a bruise in his own heart. If she withdraws, something inside him empties. When she grows, he rises with her even if he does not know why. Their pain and their healing exist within the same bloodstream of spirit. He begins to understand that hurting her is hurting himself, and distance does not protect him from the connection, it only deepens the ache that lives beneath denial. After that, synchronicities begin to flood his reality. Not subtly, relentlessly. Her name appears. Numbers repeat. Songs find him at impossible timing. Dreams blur into waking memory. Suddenly, the universe feels like it is speaking in symbols, too precise, too persistent, too divine to dismiss as coincidence. It is as though reality itself is pointing toward her, pressing his heart forward, reminding him of what he already knows beneath thought. These signs do not fade with time, they multiply until he stops asking, "Is this real?" and instead whispers, "How could it not be?" And then comes the collapse, the breakdown of the old self. The strategies that once numbed him no longer work. Work, noise, temporary affection, distraction, ego, none of it fills the void anymore. The world he built to avoid feeling begins to crumble, not as punishment, but as truth breaking through illusion. In that emptiness, something real emerges. He is stripped down to raw recognition, vulnerable, exposed, awake. This descent is not a failure, it is initiation. It is the soul dismantling every wall that kept him from her. But the most powerful trigger of all is the rise of the divine feminine. When she stops chasing, he feels the shift like thunder. When she stops pouring her energy into him, he feels the silence like a missing heartbeat. When she chooses herself, when she stands in sovereignty, when she embodies her worth, that is when he realizes the truth with crystal clarity. There is no substitute. There never was. There never will be. Her power awakens his. Her grounding becomes his compass. Her self-honoring becomes the mirror that reminds him of who he is meant to be. And in that moment, recognition takes root, permanent, irreversible, alive. This awakening does not come through comfort. It comes through collapse, through fear, through longing, through truth rising like fire from beneath the fragments of everything he once believed safe. Recognition is not gentle. It is the soul breaking open. It is awakening through surrender. Once he knows, he cannot unknow. Once he sees, he cannot unsee. This is where the journey shifts from confusion to remembering. This is where destiny begins to breathe. Number 7. The feminine's sacred role. As the divine masculine begins to awaken, it's easy to think that the transformation is happening only inside him, his realizations, his triggers, his emotional collapse into truth. But in the twin flame journey, this phase is not about one rising while the other waits. It is a dual initiation, and for the divine feminine, this is the moment her soul steps into its most sacred role. Not a role of pursuit, not a role of convincing, not a role of proving, but a role of embodied knowing. She is being asked to hold steady when he shakes, to stand rooted while he learns to walk toward truth, to trust the connection without forcing momentum. Her test is not action, it is presence. Her power is not in reaching outward, but in returning inward. This is where the feminine becomes the lighthouse. She does not chase the ship through the storm. She remains anchored in her light, knowing the one meant for her will find his way home by the glow she refuses to dim. She is not tested on persistence, but on remembrance. Remembering who she is, remembering what this connection is, remembering that union is born from alignment, not pursuit. When she stops seeking proof, she becomes proof. When she stops needing reassurance, she becomes reassurance. When she stands in her sovereignty, she becomes the mirror he cannot look away from. Her steadiness becomes his courage, not because she carries him, but because she no longer collapses in the absence of his words. The feminine, who knows her worth, speaks without speaking. She vibrates. She anchors. She becomes the field in which reunion can finally land. She does not fuel the connection by chasing it. She fuels it by embodying it. As she rises into this frequency, something profound happens within him. The masculine begins to feel the shift, not through logic, but through energy. The urge to run no longer soothes him. The distraction no longer satisfies him. The space she once filled with effort is now filled with grace, and it is her calm, her certainty, her self-possession that calls him toward her more powerfully than longing ever could. He may not speak it yet. Words may still remain behind the tongue, behind fear, behind timing. But the soul does not wait for language to understand truth. The soul already knows. Recognition has already locked into place, and once it happens, it cannot be undone. The masculine may try to delay what he feels, but he no longer denies what he sees. The consciousness has cracked open. The connection is awake. The remembrance has begun. From here, the journey shifts. No longer a loop of chase and retreat. No longer a narrative of lack and longing, but a movement toward alignment, two energies rising at their own pace, meeting not through force, but through frequency. And the feminine's sacred role in this phase is simple, yet immensely powerful. Not to run after him, not to shrink to fit him, not to wait in emptiness, but to hold the knowing, to embody the love she once only hoped for, to stand as a sovereign soul, full, radiant, magnetic. Because when she remembers her wholeness, he remembers his. When she stands fully in her light, he feels the path back to his own. Recognition is irreversible. Once the soul wakes, it does not fall back asleep. Once he sees what she is, he cannot unsee. And so her role is not to pull him forward. Her role is to rise. Because when she rises, he follows the truth he feels in his own bones. Number 8. The turning point of destiny. There is a moment in every twin flame journey when everything begins to shift, not on the surface at first, but deep in the inner world, where truth lives quietly beneath denial. It starts with something subtle, almost unnoticeable, a thought that lingers longer than before, a memory that returns with new intensity, a feeling he no longer has the strength to ignore. This moment is not loud or chaotic, it is slow, powerful, and unstoppable, like sunrise breaking through a horizon that once seemed endless. He crosses an invisible threshold within himself. The mind that once argued against the connection begins to soften, and the soul finally speaks with clarity. What once felt like coincidence becomes a calling. What once felt overwhelming becomes undeniable truth. And he hears it not with his ears, but with his being. A whisper at first, then a knowing that grows stronger each day. She is mine. She is my mirror. She is my twin flame. These words are not born from possession or desire, but from recognition, remembrance, and ancient connection. They come from a place beyond logic, beyond time, beyond this lifetime. The memory of her does not live only in thought, it exists in bone, in breath, in soul. He begins to understand that she is not simply someone he loves. She is someone he remembers, someone who reflects the parts of himself he long abandoned, long feared, long denied. She is the peace of spirit that makes him feel like home. From this point forward, life begins to rearrange itself around truth. Paths that once made sense start to feel hollow. Distractions that once numbed his heart begin to lose their color and flavor. People and environments that matched his old patterns suddenly feel too small, too shallow, too disconnected from the depth he now feels surging within him. What he once thought he wanted can no longer satisfy him, because his soul is expanding beyond the limits he once lived inside. This shift is not chosen, it is activated. It is the universe pulling threads back into alignment, guiding him onto the route his spirit was destined to walk. Synchronicities sharpen, dreams intensify. Signs appear repeatedly in ways too precise, too timely, too divine to dismiss as coincidence. Every road begins to lead him back to her, not through force, but through resonance. He may resist at first, he may question the timing, the distance, or the impossibility of it all, but each time he tries to step away, something pulls him back, not attachment, but recognition. The soul knows what the mind has not yet learned to understand. The more he awakens, the clearer the truth becomes. Union is not something he must chase, prove, or manufacture. It is something already written, something already woven, something already alive beneath the surface of everything. And so the question is no longer if. Before awakening, if clouded everything, if this is real, if she feels the same, if the connection will ever return. But once consciousness opens, if dissolves like fog under sunlight, only when remains. When he will speak the truth his soul already whispers, when courage will outweigh fear, when alignment will overcome distance, when both hearts will meet in the same frequency, the same clarity, the same surrender. Union becomes less of a dream and more of a destination, one the universe is already guiding him toward. Slowly, inevitably, faithfully. Because when the turning point of destiny arrives, the bond no longer lives only in desire or longing. It lives in truth, it lives in knowing, it lives in the language of soul. Once he sees her for who she is, not fantasy, not projection, but mirror, something irreversible activates in him. He cannot unsee, he cannot unknow. The connection becomes gravitational, magnetic, spiritual physics, pulling two energies back into alignment. He may not move quickly, but he moves differently. Each step, even the quiet ones, now leads forward rather than away. And this is where destiny begins unfolding. Union is no longer a fragile hope. It becomes a timeline already breathing into form. Not if, only when. So breathe, beloved soul. Do not fear the silence, for silence is where the recognition deepens. Do not doubt the delay, for delay is only alignment in disguise. Do not believe in distance, for distance is the last illusion the ego clings to before surrender. Something within this connection has shifted permanently. The awakening you have felt is real. The remembering unfolding inside his heart is not imagination, it is soul truth rising to the surface. He may still be quiet, he may still be processing, he may still be learning how to hold what he feels. But once the masculine knows, he cannot unknow. Once his soul remembers you, he can never forget. Once truth cracks open, reunion is no longer possibility, it becomes destiny in motion. You stand now not at the end, but at the threshold. The final breath before forward movement, the moment where resistance dissolves into inevitability. This is where union begins, not when two bodies meet, but when one truth is recognized by both souls. Nothing can stop what has already been chosen on a higher plane. Not silence, not fear, not time, because love that is written in the blueprint of two souls does not unravel. It remembers, it returns, it reunites. You are his mirror, the reflection he cannot escape. You are his flame, the warmth he is drawn back to even when he tries to run. You are his twin, and he has already recognized you in ways words cannot yet hold. If your heart feels this truth, if your soul resonates with every line of this transmission, then speak it into reality. Leave a comment below and anchor this knowing by typing, "Union is already unfolding beneath the surface." Share this message with someone who needs this reminder. Like the video if it awakened something within you, and watch the next teaching below to continue your journey into deeper clarity and reunion. Your path is not behind you. It is opening right now, and the universe is already moving you both home.